round one. Let's see what we have here. Not amazing, but I am going to keep on the draw. If I didn't have Impulse, I'd be considerably less likely to keep this hand. That was not a good draw. Feel pretty confident making that claim. Okay, alright, that is fine. I'm just going to pass a turn back here. Okay, well, this hand isn't too upset if we're just sitting here looking at each other. I'm going to go ahead and run out Vial. It may get countered, which is fine. But yeah, I'm looking to hit land. Being able to start getting some of these 4-drops out of my hand is going to be real nice. And gonna let my opponent choose their card and then kill their Geist. This is a good card. Okay, Hydrolash is less amazing, but it could be quite good against my deck. And considering how many Separatist Void Mages I passed in the draft, blue-green could be quite good against my deck, just in general. So that's decent. Wouldn't be surprised if it gets bounced here, of course. Yep. Again, all those Void Mages. I could run it out again to see if it gets blocked. Or instead I could run out a Skyraker Giant. Yeah, that seems decent enough. Again, that could also get bounced, but this has haste. There's no real reason to not hold on to it, especially when this is actually a threat on the board as it is. Huh, okay. Also worth noting that Guardians of Meletus doesn't really die to Chandra's Ignition here, which is awkward. Could really stand to draw land here. I'm just going to play out Fetid Imp, get a card out of my hand. This is very awkward. Yeah, I'm just going to attack here. And get aggressive. I assume this is Disperse? Yep. Okay. That's fine. Again, my opponent is keeping my hand glutted, but they don't really have any pressure on me at present. So I feel okay with setting myself back there because it's running them out of cards. And that could be an incorrect way of looking at things, but yep. Okay. I'm really going to need to draw lands here soon. I could have left black up there and stayed back, but I kind of want my opponent to attack with their Void Mage. Yeah, okay. Okay, so they're holding up Cracking Foundry, which is reasonable. Alright. So if I go to attack with the Brute, he's going to sack the Foundry and double block. At that point, I could Titan Strength. It feels bad. I could just play out Skyraker Giant. That feels a little bit better here. Just continue building up my board. Leave up Death Touch on the Imp. Of course, the Imp blocks just fine here. End of turn, sack the Foundry. Get 2/2/2, or 2/1/1s rather. Jeez. I hope you don't play a Chief of the Foundry and make them 2/2s. I would be sad. Okay, not attacking. So I could play Fire Fiend Elemental and swing with the team, which I'm not an enormous fan of. I could just hold up on Holy Hunger to kill the Guardian's end of turn, and then have that same play next turn. I don't super hate that. Huh. This is very rough. I've drawn so few lands. Of course, my opponent is flooded, so that's certainly a thing. Yeah, I'm just going to pass the turn here. So they don't actually fight. I don't actually know if Death Touch combos with Chandra's Ignition. Did my opponent? Yeah, they did. They played a land. See if that resolves. It does. Okay. Land? Land is good. Alright, so what can I do here? So I could Lightning Javelin the Separate Void Mage and attack with everything. That would trade 2 Thopters for Boggart Brute. That's not great. I could just attack with both and respond to blocks, then play out a Shambling Ghoul. Wait, no. Ignition seems simultaneously good and bad on this board. Let's see. I could just Ignition the Imp to kill 2 Thopters. That's not good. So, play Mountain, play Elemental, and hold it back. I kind of think that's the play. If I'm doing that, then I probably want to play Ghoul as well. And then I have a decent amount of plays for next turn. I'm going to do this first and look at the board again. Alright, so if I attack, my opponent goes block, 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 and I have to decide what I would want to trade there. I don't think that's great. And it's going to do this. And then next turn I'm going to have a pretty significant amount of attacks available. Again, my opponent is definitely flooded. So maybe I should be playing a little bit more aggressive than I am, but I have all these sort of reactive cards in my hand. That makes it rather awkward. Ring Warden out. Okay. I could Hunger the Owl I could Javelin the Owl. Let's see what I draw. If I Javelin the Owl, I'll still have... I'd have 2 mana. Unholy Hunger. Unholy Hunger leaves me with Titan Strength still up. Is that correct? Yes. Okay. Going to do this and serve with everything but the Imp. I think that's right. And I'll have to decide which one of these I want to prevent from trading. Of course, it's also possible my opponent has a Disperse here. And is this a Bounding Crisis? Oh, it's a Harbinger of the Tides. Okay, which is going to return, I assume, the Giant to my hand? Yeah, okay. Yep. Alright. Yeah, this is not bad for my opponent. I won't pretend that it is. As expected. As expected. So, on this board, I think I would rather have the Boggart Brute. Is that accurate? I mean, this would still be a 3/2. Yeah, I think this is just the way I want to play this out. Do I want a Ghoul? I have 6 mana, so I can go Giant into Ghoul. Yeah, okay. Pressure seems good at this point, because again, my opponent is basically top decking. I mean, they've been playing out lands. I assume they don't have other great cards going on here. Well, that's awkward. Ghoul does not look great against a Vastwood Gorger. That is certainly true. In that case, I'm just going to play out the Rapid Bloodsucker. Start beating down in the air. Yeah. And I'm just gonna hang back here. I have good blocks, so. And I'm not super certain that my opponent has a card in hand. They didn't play a land there, but that doesn't mean for certain that they have a thing. Alright, just going to serve with the Vampire here. Play Giant and yeah, I don't really want to take 5 damage, so I'm just going to pass the turn. I don't think the Shambling Ghoul does a lot here anyway. So with Chandra's Ignition, I can go for the win next turn. Let's see. If I kill the Harbinger here, the Gorger can block the Giant. My opponent would take 3, 4, 5, 8, 9. They would have to have something. They have 2 cards in hand that played a land last turn. They could have pretty much anything, but I think I'll go for this. Yeah, Breathe the Bones is fine. right? They block there. They take 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Swing out, and whatever they have, yeah, okay, good deal. Yeah, okay. So my opponent is blue-green tempo. They have Disperses, Harbinger of the Tides, Ring Warden Owls. Just in general, Guardians of Meletis, just in general, they're set up pretty well to, looks like, to get to a late game and to do something in that late game. Clearly this is a matchup where the normal black-red, you know, take your thing and get rid of it strategy would be nice, but that is not an option we have here. So, still a question of, is there anything I want to bring in or take out? I don't think the Undead Servants are great here. Definitely don't need Slugs. Fury is interesting as it gives a little more reach. And it's definitely possible with his fatties that reach could be necessary, but I kind of think Vile does a decent job of approximating that, as does Passage. Yeah, I think I'm just going to run it back. And going to be on the draw again, but you know, that's not the worst thing in the world. I mean, has a 2-drop, has a removal spell. I think this is keepable on the draw. Okay, has a somewhat better 4 now. Oh wow, my opponent is missing land. That's not good for them. Definitely going to run out the Ghoul here because it can attack for more than the Imp. Okay, my opponent has hit their second land. I mean, surely they have good cards in hand or else they wouldn't have kept, because they did not mulligan, right? Yeah, alright. So, 1 land to get there, presumably. Which is not a bad plan. Not a bad plan at all. This could be Disperse. And is. Not a huge surprise there. Opponent probably has a few. And that makes sense. Alright, it's awkward to play the Rogue's Passage. But if I do, I can play Cobble Brute. And that seems pretty good on this board. I mean, clearly my opponent can have plays, but I mean, Guardians of Meletis having 0 power definitely is encouraging me to go wide here. But there are a number of plays that deal well with Cobble Brute. That's unfortunate, but and they bottom that, so pretty clearly not a land. And I think it's, you know, from my opponent's perspective, it's pretty clear that I didn't have another land since I played a Rogue's Passage for no value. Okay. Any number of things could be happening here. This could be Harbinger of the Tides, right? It's just you can pay 2 to make it an instant, right? Which is awkward because it can trade with the Cobble Brute. So in that case, it's a question of whether I want. Well, I mean, they just bounce Cobble Brute to my hand. It's a question of whether I want to attack, and I still do. I mean, this probably is Harbinger. That would kind of be a pretty good meaning of why they kept this hand. No, it's not. Okay. Alright. Well, in that case, I'm going to play Shambling Ghoul and a Fetid Imp. And say go. Nothing from my opponent. Okay, Ring Warden Owl. Land off the top would be quite nice. Quite nice indeed. Yes, so I'll be getting through for 5 damage here. That seems pretty good. And on the one hand, that's a little bit spewing of a removal spell, but I don't think it's too bad. Considering Ring Warden Owl is a significant card against me. Okay, Sentinel's fine. Sentinel is fine. Alright, so I play Vial. This can't block. Blocks here, takes 2, 4, 5. Yeah, is basically dead to Bloodsucker next turn. Alternatively, I could just make the Cobble Brute unblockable. No, this is fine. Swing with all, and I still have that same play next turn. Actually have that play on any of my creatures next turn. And yeah, so I'm not sure there's any way my opponent can get out of this. Yeah, good deal. Off the top, yeah, Gear Crafter. That would have been okay. It's tough to say for sure what was in my opponent's hand. They probably had these 2 cards and figured, and almost certainly this, and figured they could hold on for a while, and then it kind of didn't pan out. They probably had some a green card or 2 in there, and you know, that happens. So yeah, we won, but I wouldn't say that's exactly what our deck is designed to do, but against a slower deck like this, it definitely does work. So yeah, see you all in round 2.